The views and opinions of the Nissan Nation podcast are simply that. They are views and opinions of its guests or hosts. They do not reflect Nissan corporate or otherwise. Now, a DRB and KGB media presentation, the Nissan Nation podcast. Hit it, Kelly.
Recorded live, coast to coast, it's a Nissan Nation podcast. From camping, racing, and all points in between. The NNP is your Nissan Nation podcast. Now start your engines and welcome in your hosts, David, Danny, and Holden.
What is going on, Nissan Nation? From all things Nissan here in Middle Tennessee to wherever you are listening to us, this is your Nissan Nation podcast. And guess what, guys? It's Went Week. Yes, it is Went Week. And those that may not be familiar with it, Went is wheeling enthusiast of Nissan trucks, and we're going to be a part of it. We've actually been a part of it for quite a while, seeing how I started it. But anyways, this is year 9. Year 9, and it started out as the National Xterra meet, and it's grown into just everything Nissan. So we were super pumped about that. I'm about to meet Holden there. He's driving up from the ATL. He's coming up to Winrock Park, and we are going to have a blast. I plan to do a lot of interviews. Some are going to air here. Some are going to air on our new podcast, Truck Life Podcast, which will be dropping October 1st, I believe. And we're just going to have a good time, man. We always do. If you are a friend of off-roading in Nissan, if you haven't, check us out at Went, W-E-N-T, windrock.com. And come hang with us next year, man. Next year we're celebrating 10 years, and we should be kicking it off at Nissan HQ. Last I was told, we could make that happen. So anyways, that is super exciting. And as you can tell, listen to that silence. It's just Dave here. It's just Dave, because Danny's on adventures and Holden is packing for Went. We're trying to get this one out because it's a timely episode. We got to talk with B-Roll, and if you haven't yet, check it out. B-Roll is on YouTube. He's got Instagram and everything, and it's a guy that just basically documents trails. That's it. Him and his Xterra, he just goes out there and films it and shows basically the whole trail. He doesn't just kind of sugarcoat some of the parts and just give you the cool stuff. He just shows you, here's the trail, and he's documenting a bunch of trails out in Utah and Colorado. So I'm super pumped to talk to B-Roll, and I don't know if I ever caught his real name, but anyways. So guys, how have you guys been? I hope you've been all well here in Nissanville. We know we've been slow to put out some episodes here lately. We've just, like I said, Danny's been adventuring all over. He's currently he's on the the Catalina Mixer tour right now. I think he's on a boat somewhere singing about bitches and hoes. I don't know what he's doing, but he's in Catalina. So if you're in Catalina and you see the Red Rooster or Red Dragon, whatever he calls his truck, go up and say hi to Danny. Danny likes friends. He likes new friends, especially. He was out at, he had a video drop this week, DeGrudex, if you go over to YouTube and all of his socials. But he had a video drop of him on the dunes, Glams Dunes, however they pronounce it. East Coast idiot here trying to pronounce it. But he dropped a new video this week of him and his daughters out there. You know, it can't all be race truck, right? Sometimes you just got to have a break from racing, and Lord knows Danny needs it after the Vegas to Reno race that just like, if you guys, I know we talked about it a little bit in the last show, but if you could see his face, like knowing Danny, how I know him, like he was just spent. Everything Danny had went into that, and he was so giddy to talk about it, and just was super happy. And I'm super happy for him that he got to finish a race and get to see what, the first, like the stuff he's did with Dave. They, we get 60, 70 miles, and it just seemed to bad luck happen and would always have a breakdown. Like, you get a taste of it, but then when you realize you got 500 miles to go or whatever that race is, like, it's a whole new animal to him. So he was super pumped about that. My buddy Holden down there in the ATL, man, he's, I don't know what Holden's been up to. He's buying houses and just selling Nissans. So if you're in the ATL area, go check out Regal, who is, by the way, I love this segue, the Windrock title sponsor. So we appreciate Regal and everything they've done for the community. And it says a lot about this isn't really an ad for Regal, but it just says a lot that kind of they're a one-store company. They don't have multi-stores. They're not one of these big conglomerates. So when they want to support the community, whether it be with Windrock or whatever they do locally, it means a lot because, you know, they don't have the budgets that that some of the big dogs do where they can just, you know, take a hit on cars and it doesn't faze them and they keep going, man. They are dependent on whatever Nissan sells. And, you know, if you've been following the news a little bit here lately, you'll know that sales have been kind of up and down for Nissan. A lot of rocky things going on with Nissan. And speaking of Nissan, let's get into some fun Nissan news. So my buddy over there, Wendy Orthman, she'd posted this the other day, and it really touched my heart. So let's get to the headline. So Titan of the community, Jamie Skull, I'm butchering that, has a legacy that lives on through his family and his foundation and his 2006 Send It Titan. And if you go over to Nissan News, and it's on our website or our Facebook page, and check this out, man. They've done 13 years with this truck, 200,000 miles and counting, in his Jamie's Titan. And you go, okay, well, everybody's got, you know, an older Titan that's high mileage. But last September, they started what's called Calling All Titans. And it's a campaign where just, you know, people that do special things with their Titans or, you know, these kind of special in the community. And they were celebrating Jamie because Jamie had a rare cancer. And they started up what's called the Send It Foundation. It's a nonprofit to help young cancer fighters heal together through the joy of outdoor adventure. And that means a lot to me, man. If you go, you've got people who, you know, for one, I lost a daughter to cancer, so I know what it's like to just, it just rips your family apart. And instead of, like, you know, people getting down and out and just dwelling on it, like his sister looks like started up the Send It Foundation, and they're doing good. And anytime, you know, you lose one person and, you know, maybe they're a flower and they're blooming all kinds of good things, you know, from the one thing comes many. And it looks like they're doing really good. I forget, let's see. Send It Foundation has completed 31 programs and served 150 cancer fighters. That means a lot, guys. Anytime, I know with my daughter, anytime like something just got you out of the kind of pain and misery of what you were dealing with a little bit, it's a good thing. I don't care whether it be whatever you're into, you know, if it warms your heart in some manner and takes you out of your pain and misery for a few minutes, it's a great thing. But let's see, underway. Jamie Send It remains in the mountains and in the beaches where they are hauling surfboards, mountain bikes, skis, snowboards, and Send It participants. So they're actually using the truck, you know, to do good. And we need a lot more of that in the world, man. Do more, be more, you know, whatever. I found it touching, and I'm glad that Wendy shared that. And like I said, as somebody who lost somebody to cancer, I lost a 6-year-old daughter, in 2006. So it's been, you know, I've had time to heal on it, but it just, when you see stuff like this, man, it just warms my heart. So, if you have any information about this, hit up Kevin Rafferty over there. He's, you can find him on the media contact for that. He's part of Nissan Trucks. If you have any questions, I'm going to reach out to these people. I want to see if we can get them on the podcast, the sister at least, and talk about her brother's story. Because, you know, whatever car you drive, like, you know, obviously you're listening to a car and truck podcast, so clearly we're all bonding over the Nissan brand. And whether it be Toyota, whatever you're into, man, you're in the tuner scene or you're in the off-road scene or you're just the guy that has the Rogue that just enjoys the way it looks. And anytime you walk out of your house and you see it in your driveway, it just puts a smile on your face, man. We all connect because of, you know, certain things like cars and trucks. And you know, I wouldn't have known Danny had it not been for this community. I wouldn't have known Holden had it not been for this community. And so when the community can come together like this and do, you know, something special, it's just freaking awesome, man. So if you'll go over to nissannews.com and the story's there, like I said, I'll repost it here in a couple days. There's a video that I'm going to post. And the video is really touching. It's done really well. And it's just his sister, and it shows a little bit of what they're doing with the truck. So anyways, check out Send It Foundation and, you know, let's just send it. I think that was actually a Toyota slang of some sorts, but, you know, we're not going to fault, if that's what he named his truck, that's what he named his truck. But, speaking of Nissan, they've had another rough week, man. You think they're going to get out of it, and nope. So Hirohito, God, I know this name and I can't say it now. Anyways, I'm not gonna even try to butcher it, because Holden will tell me how to pronounce it, and I'll do it for 15 times, and then all of a sudden I'm by myself and can't do it. But so it came to light that part of the Carlos issue was, I think there was a little hush money involved too, as to upper management of, you keep your mouth shut, you get nice bonuses, and yeah. So it came out that they were padding their paychecks with a little bit of a bonus there. And, this gentleman he's like been trying to dig us, the brand out as the problems they've had. But, I don't know that he thought whatever they were doing was wrong, because clearly he wasn't in charge, but it come to find out it was wrong. And let's see. So this is from the Wall Street Journal, Yokohama, Japan. Nissan Motor Company Chief Executive Hirohito Sakawa, like I said, they're going to butcher me when I Holden especially will, is resigns, ending the term marked by controversy over the arrest of former chairman Carlos Ghosn. Turmoil with partner Renault SA, and sharp fall off in profits. Of course, those profits are all due to the Ghosn issue. But the Nissan board sought to remove the gentleman quickly after the company's investigation found that in 2013, the then executive vice president received improper stock-based performance compensations to the sum of $439,000. So, I know executives make a nice penny, but when you get a big bump like that, it's probably going to be noticeable at some point, especially when there's media and everybody kind of nosing around, going, "Hey, what's the next big part of the disaster for Nissan?" Because, you just can't like let this year that they've had chill. No, we've got to, somebody keeps digging, and it may have been part of the original investigation with old CG, as I like to call him. But you got caught. And of course he was talking, he was resigning. And I think, being Japanese, he's probably a very honorable guy. And he's like, "Hey, I would give the money back and step down." So I think they did the right thing, and I think this was the last little piece of the Carlos Ghosn reign of, this is the last kind of guy in a position of power that had ties to LCG, and I think it's a clean slate from here on. So it kind of stinks, because a lot of these people they've been lifelong, when in the Japanese community, what I've been told is, like, you stay with that brand. You don't go over to Toyota all of a sudden. You don't jump around like they do here in the States and everywhere in the world. You're a lifer. And if you move to another company, they're done with you. So the gentleman was 65 years old, so I'm not sure of the retirement age in Japan, but I'd say he's probably going to live comfortable and find something to do. But that was kind of a bummer this week. This is just not, I won't say the gift, because I don't like to see my favorite brand kind of trashed all the time, but it seems to be the gift that just keeps on giving for the media. We already deal with enough of the CVT issues and all that. That's kind of the punching bag for everybody. The common person, if you want to kind of fuss about Nissan, they just go right to CVT, and how can you defend it? So now it's like, well, you can't even run their company right. So, pow, A&W root beer there. So, like I said, ultimately, I think that's the little final piece to fall, and now we're on to new cars, and you've got the new Titan. If you're going to the Texas State Fair, I think you're going to see it there. I know Toyota's unveiling some cool new things as well. It's weird, I guess, because Texas being the largest truck buying market, that it makes sense to kind of unveil things there. In the Titan, when it came out, it won whatever best truck of that year, 16, and then Ford and Chevy were like, "Here, hold my beer, we got something for you." But it was I think you're going to see a nicely refreshed truck. I've seen it. I've seen it all badged up and kind of hidden. I don't expect like a complete redesign, guys, because that didn't happen. But I was told we're over 400 horsepower now, so that's at least a 10 more horsepower bump, which I'd say it can't be right at 400. It's going to have to be just a little bit over. I forget what the Infinity version of the 5.6 liter V8 is, but it's got to be in line with that, because generally Nissan holds back on their horsepower. I don't know why. I know with the Skyline GTR, I forget what it was rated at, like 285 or something, but it was well over that. But for something about the Japanese law, they couldn't sell a car over 285 or 300 horsepower, so they always sort of lied about that. But they just seem to kind of sandbag their horsepower numbers. But so we've got that coming up, so that's awfully big news. We've got, like I said, Windrock's coming up. That's, if you're listening to it now, guess what? It's happening now. So if you're new, like I said, new to this, get on our Instagram pages or our Facebook pages and even our YouTube. Go to YouTube at Nissan Nation Podcast. Find us, hit that old subscribe button. It means a lot. We're trying to get 1,000 subscribers this year. I don't know that we're going to hit that number, but you guys have come out in force, and I'm at 452 or 3 right now. So about halfway there. So at this rate, I'll hit it around this time next year. But in all honesty, it's the only way that the podcast can seem to find any kind of funding. So we're trying to get into that Google advertising money a little bit, and we're just having fun bringing you guys original content. I've got a Titan video I'm about to drop. It won't be until I get back from Wynn. I got to finish that up. But we did a long-term. We took it to Detroit, Michigan, from Nashville, Tennessee, and just basically I documented, our fun, the kind of fun. We went to pick my daughter up. That she was in Detroit with some family, but we just documented, here's what the truck actually is doing on a trip, the mileage. Here's how we're enjoying the ride or didn't enjoy something about the truck. And we just, you guys, the first video I did on the Titan is 15,000 views or something like that. Man, it's still going strong, but it was my long-term review of just ownership of the vehicle. So I wanted to break it down a little bit before we leases up on this truck next year, guys. So who knows what'll be in the driveway, but I wanted to kind of document, everybody has a video of, everybody's got a good iPhone now or whatever Android you're using that, and they all think they're, I guess I'm in this category. You all think you're a journalist, and of course we technically are, but everybody thinks that they can do reviews, but generally it seems to be very bland of, yep, the truck, especially your professional guys that are your guys that are doing reviews is, well, we had the truck for a week. It averaged 15. So that's got to be what it does. And that's how they document it and report it. And I will say this, when we went from Nashville up, I think we averaged just over 20 in that truck, in a full-size truck. So I'll leave it at that. But I was, I went up there before in it and always get around the same thing. And I was happy with it. Nothing like driving in a big full-size vehicle. So if you go to our YouTube channel, and you'd be expecting that to drop, I try to once a week do what I call behind the wheels, or behind the wheel. It's just generally Thursday, Fridays, kind of recap of the week of what's going on in Nissan, a little 5-minute video. People were giving me crap about it because I just do it in a truck. I just like you'd be sitting in your truck thinking about, I wonder what's going on. So that's kind of my approach to it, and it seems to be fun. But I had somebody fussing, I'm not going to trust some guy behind the wheel of a pickup truck. And you're like, well, you watch enough YouTube videos of them, so pretty much anything I've seen on a TFL truck or Doug or the Stradman, anybody you listen to, they're behind their wheel talking to you. So I always find that amusing especially when I broke the news, and we broke it that Cummins and Nissan were no longer going to be partners in the XD Titan. Like, I took so much heat from the Facebook groups of, you don't know what you're talking about, and you're just blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, guys, we come off on the show as we try to have fun, but at the end of the day, if I'm speculating, I try to be upfront about it, that here's kind of what I could foresee coming. If I'm saying it's breaking news, it's because it's factual. And I had what I guess was funny was, because podcasting is so different from the normal paper journalism, I had people that read it, but then linked to somebody else because they didn't want to trust the lonely little podcast, Nissan podcast. So they were kind of leaving us in the dust. But it's all good. We had fun with it. But go to our YouTube channel. Like, subscribe. You're really cool. Ding that bell. You're going to get a bunch of cool stuff. We've got a bunch of video we're going to do for Went. Like I said, if you're watching this or listening to this and going, Windrock, what it is, hop on there. If you see it, you like, subscribe to our, especially Instagram. You'll see me pop up there all week from time to time. And if you're really cool, go over to Windrock, the Instagram pages and Facebook pages. We'll plan on doing, I think we generally do the whole raffle. We tried to live broadcast that last year, so that's really fun. But anyways, so let's get to our interview. So let's see. Let's go over here to YouTube. Let's type in B-roll, and let's see what he's done this week, guys. Like I said, this is a guy that just strictly documents trails. B-roll off-road. There he is. And man, he's got over 1,000 subscribers, man. He's got 119 videos. So let's see. 5 days ago, he dropped Round Hill, Fairplay, Colorado, and it's episode 119, and he did it solo. So, like I said, their videos are quite long, and he's doing them in 4K now, which is really cool. But he just literally documents the trails, and it's something I've seen in the past of whether you go out to Moab and you see Hell's Revenge and you see that one climb where they're just really going up it, and you're like, well, that's really cool, man. There's always more to these trails. So this guy's just documenting them, and it's just, at some point you're just kind of like, I'm just watching a truck drive, because there's no narration. There's a little music every once in a while, but there is no narration. The guy's he's not doing it to boost his ego or anything. He's literally just doing it for the community. And my hat's off to B-roll. So without further ado, this is the Nissan Nation podcast and our interview with B-roll Offroad. All right, so tonight we have an interesting interview for me tonight, because it's normally you've kind of heard some of the people I talk to, you've heard their voices, you've seen what they do, but it's very rare that you just get to see what they do and they just, throw their art out there a little bit, and that's it. Like, you have no idea of the person, their personality, or anything. But tonight we have Mr. B-roll himself, B-roll Offroad. What is your real name, B-roll?
My name is kind of crazy. My real name is Jean-Philippe Beauchamp.
All right.
But I'm just a regular guy from Conifer, Colorado.
Well, I see why you go by B-roll.
Yeah.
So you came across my radar, I want to say 6 months ago or so. And I'm just, how you go down that YouTube rabbit hole of it leads to one thing, leads to another. And of course, I'm generally looking for interesting Nissan people. And all of a sudden B-roll Offroad come up, and I was like, well, what is this about? And I started watching videos, and I'm like, well, it never dawned on me that there's no real narration or anything, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to be a trail library. So I made the channel just for me, basically. We have a trail picked out, we're going there this weekend, and I'm on the websites reading all the reviews. I'm on Trails Offroad, read their description, watch their video. And then I go to YouTube and I watch any available videos on that trail, basically, because I want to know if it's cool and I want to know if I'm going to make it. And that's just kind of how it was. I just wanted to strip down. Like, I've gone back and forth on everything, whether I should be talking or I should be doing anything. But I was like, this is just for the person who's going out and they just want to see it. They just want to know what's the deal with the obstacles, Right.
Well, I think because a lot of people anymore, and I don't know your end game to any of this other than you put out cool videos. A lot of these people, they put something out and they're kind of looking for sponsorship. You can just tell right away on some of the overland videos of the way they set them up is they're looking for somebody to start giving them something out of this. And that's what I loved about your videos when I started watching them. It was like, it's just the guy in his truck just doing truck things,
Yeah. And I've thought about that too, but even, if someone were to give me a set of tires or something, it's almost like, I think people are just kind of getting sick of like hearing people tell them what to do. Yes. And like, I don't think I'm I'm kind of niching myself out with this, but I'm also like, if someone sends me a set of tires, you just have to look at it. Like, I don't need to tell you that they're working. Just watch them drive over the rock.
Right.
Like, they're, you can see it.
Right. Well, and of course, Overland's been for the past 10 years just been huge. And the stuff you're doing, because you're based out of Colorado, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And where at in Colorado? Is it the Denver area or?
Yeah, I'm just south of Denver proper in Littleton.
Okay. Yeah. I was actually about to move out that way in Littleton. But so yeah, you're in the mecca of just like, honestly, trail central. Like, there's a lot of BML or BLM land out there, and there's just like all kinds of classic trails, whether it be the Uray areas. There's just everything out there. So you have a wide range of things to go see, and obviously everybody's documented a lot of these things, but they're just in piecemeal. Like, you're just taking and just kind of showing the whole adventure, right?
Yeah, I mean, the video has nothing to do with the day I had, but it does show the trail start to finish, every obstacle, and then anything scenic, I break the drone out. And yeah, I mean, I pulled over on the first trail because I made a set of rules for myself, and I was like, anything big needs to be filmed third person and all this. And later I changed it to where everything had to be third person.
Right.
And I pulled over on Slaughterhouse on that first trail. And I was like, are you really going to do this, man? Like, this is a pain. This is why no one's filming this way. This is insane.
Right.
But I think if you want to see how big the ledge is, I like many other videos. I watch this stuff all the time, but like when I'm in research mode, like a close up on the tire just doesn't show the obstacle. Like,
right.
And I watch that slow-mo stuff and I love it. And with the music and the fast edits, but for this version of me who's like in research mode, I just think it has to be like whole car, third person, and like Survivor Man style.
Right. Well, but there's something to be said about that, man. Cause like everybody does the classic video, like you were saying, of you see the tire kind of going up the first little climb, and you see the BF Goodrich on the side, and it's just this classic, there's classic poses to every video. And it's refreshing to like, cause I know exactly what you're saying. It's a pain in the butt. You want to go set your tripod up or whatever, and you got to kind of plan it out a little bit, but then you've actually got to go do the trail, and then you got to set up for the next obstacle. And then, like you were saying with the drone, that's a whole nother animal of like, if you want any pass-bys, you got to figure out how to do that. I'm assuming you have a co-pilot maybe that can help with that?
No, on very rare, maybe like 10 shots total, I'm pretty much always by myself. So if it's anything technical, you may notice the shot is very plain, maybe just a reverse.
Right.
And I just scout that out, and I just hold it just a little bit, and I just drive like I would and hope I get it. I find out when I got home.
Right. And that's the next thing, man. And like, I know, I personally, cause I've been doing a lot for our YouTube on my own. And it's like, man, people don't realize how much there is to this. Like a lot of the YouTube channels, they're professional channels. Like they've got 4 guys out there filming so you can see a cool truck go do this. But much respect to you, man, just sitting out there and just, well, it's hit or miss. It might look good. It might not.
Yeah. And to speak to that, I never really wanted a drone because I never wanted music. That was the other thing too. These like, so many comments are made about just like the music's too loud. I just want to hear the truck. And like, I know I've, dismissed myself from a bunch of people who like that, but I was just like, it's got to be plain. I just want to have it driving. And then my brother was basically like, dude, this is too boring. You need to get a drone. Like the family's going to pitch in and get you a drone for Christmas.
Nice.
And I was just like overwhelmed, but then I was excited and I was like, oh man, I'm not even going to be slowing down. I'm just going to throw this thing out the window, dude. Keep flying. No problem. And that is not the it's like 15 minutes before I'm in the air.
Well, which drone are you using?
I have the Mavic Pro.
Oh, nice, man. Trust me, I had my last one was a unique something 500, and it was as big as my seat. And it felt like a 20-minute process to get it in the air. So yeah, the Mavic is nice it kind of is. You could almost throw it in the air, but not that close.
Yeah. And the other thing too is I'm filming all this just on my cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, take the mic off, take it out of the mount, take it off the tripod, take the case off, plug it into the thing. So it's a whole deal. Like when I can get 2 shots with the same device in a row, that's like, I'm so excited.
Right.
Because I can just keep that system intact.
Well, kind of break down your setup a little bit. So there's always, everybody thinks you got to have $10,000 worth of equipment. So obviously, I know what drones cost. You're $700 to $1,200 there. What else are you filming with?
So I have the Mi Photo Road Trip tripod, which was the best cheap one I could find, and I leave the camera connected to it and I toss that thing through my window 1,000 times a month, and I'm really pleased with it. It has a cool 2-stage leg, so when I'm on like a hillside I can just pop one almost perpendicular and just set it there really quick without like making each section shorter. And then it has a ball mount, which was like the biggest time saver of my life, instead of like adjusting the legs. Because that's the other thing too. Sometimes the shot from an artistic standpoint is like blown, like I've cut a tree off or whatever, but that's by design because I always want it perfectly level, like no matter what.
Right. Yeah, because you're trying to represent what the trail feels like, right?
That's right. Yeah. The entertainment is second to research.
Right. And so is there any other big equipment or anything you're using, or?
I've got a little phone mount, and then I have the Rode Video Mic Go. And other than that, it's just the drone. I've got this clapped out laptop with a broken screen, and I'm still using iMovie. And that's the other message of B-roll too. Like, it's supposed to be a research trail based, but the hidden messages are, it does not take you don't need an $80,000 car, and you don't need to get outside, and you don't need 50 grand if you want to make videos while you're outside.
Right. And that's, I will say for us, because I won't say late to YouTube. I mean, I've had several accounts, but we've always had a podcast account, but I'd never seen the value in it really till about this time last year. And I was like, you know what? There's a lot of people in there that don't listen to podcasts. There's always a way to kind of cross-pollinate. And I was like, but then I was just thinking, I'm just going to start with my phone, just start recording things. And I've taken some crap for, like, my latest videos. I have this series where it's behind the steering wheel, and I just find it interesting. It's my thing. And people go, I'm going to really listen to a guy that's sitting in his truck. And you're like, well, that's the beauty of YouTube. You can do it however you want. It doesn't cost you anything. And like you were saying, equipment wise, you can do this relatively cheap.
Yeah, definitely. And I follow this dude, Sean Cannell, who really helped me with my channel. It's a lot of easy stuff, like just putting out a description. He said to number your posts so people know that you have like a large body of work, and type out a real description, and then do your tags, and do end screens. And it was kind of simple, but the tags thing is crazy because there's like these other extensions like TubeBuddy and vidIQ, and that's why I learned a lot that like tagging Xterra is actually bad because there's like 800,000 search results.
Right.
So when I tag Xterra Offroad, first of all, there's way less people tagging that, but also now people looking for that. He basically changed my whole mindset on that. YouTube is a search engine. Right. So you need to figure out whatever question your video is answering. Right. And that was like, I had like 80 subscribers. And like, once I redid all my videos. I went through, I spent days rewriting all this stuff and coming up with these unique tags. And it took forever, but it was like very obvious in the analytics.
So did you notice when you did that, did you notice kind of right away, like older videos all of a sudden started popping?
Yeah, definitely. And then even so you can like sort them, and just the way they're sorted, having your best rankings at the top, sometimes just sorting them would rank you for other tags, and then you resort them again. Sometimes I hit it 3 times and all of a sudden I'm ranked on like 8 new tags.
Oh, wow.
It's crazy.
Well, I mean, I'm kind of looking at your page now, and it's your top videos are up there. Of course, your latest one you dropped 2 days ago, but yeah, I'm looking at number 113, and it's like 655 views. And I mean, I'm not digging through all of your stuff, but that's a lot of views for just being no narration, just you doing your trip. What are some of your best videos?
The best videos are the popular ones. I think the one you're talking about might be Mount Antero or something.
Yeah.
A few videos ago. Yeah, so super popular out of Buena Vista. It's in the Fun Treks book. It's super scenic, and that's what I've noticed, it's just big trails. Like, I've been trying to do Red Cone because I think that's going to be huge, and I've done it before. But yeah, it's just the big name trails. I mean, it kind of stunk because first of all, I started this channel at the beginning of winter. I was like, all right, I'm doing it. I'm putting out a video a week. It's winter time. Everything's closed.
Right.
And this year has just been awful. It's like avalanches everywhere, too much snow. So like, we haven't been able to do a lot of the big trails. And then I've got to be careful because I really hate bothering people. And so like, usually when I film a trail, no one even knows I'm there.
Right.
So like a big name trail that's only open 1 month this year, like I'm gonna have to do that on a Wednesday at 6 a.m. You know,
something like Black Bear or something right now I know is like crazy because it's taken so long to get those open.
Yeah. And then we had a problem too because everything was closed. It was like you really couldn't go anywhere but like Buena Vista or Idaho Springs.
And
like,
then probably everybody's there then too, right?
Yeah. So people who were normally spread out across the state were now in these 2 places at the beginning of summer, and it was a disaster.
Well, anything I know of Denver area proper there is on the weekends, everybody likes to get out of town. So the passes are always fun trying to get through there, especially on a Friday.
Yeah, I am a huge proponent of leaving at like 10 p.m. I've left at 11 p.m. for Moab, which is 5.5 hours if nothing goes wrong. But
right.
I've been metered at the Eisenhower Tunnel because of snow, and it's taken me almost 10 to get there.
Wow. I know I've done the Moab event, and I usually fly into Denver and I'll meet up with a buddy and he'll be like, hey, just take my truck. And I'll just drive out there to Moab. And for one, that's probably from Denver to Moab is probably my favorite trip of all time. Just the scenery, the crazy scenery. You go from the lush Denver area, especially in May. You go from that, it's 70 degrees, you go through the passes and it could be 30 degrees with a blizzard going on. And then by the time you get to Grand Junction, it's 75, 80 degrees again and just some completely different looking terrain.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, we've had a blizzard on this side of the tunnel and then you pop out on the other side and it's sunny. It's
right.
Like pretty crazy.
Right. We took and drove through there one time and we stopped at one of the rest stops there, and my son had never seen snow like that you guys experience. And I forget, we were in some parking area and like he wanted to run up into the hill and get in the snow. And the next thing you know, he was like chest deep in snow. It was like, yeah, dude, they don't play around with snow here, man.
Yeah, it's that super dry fluff that we're known for.
So kind of out of all the stuff you've done, I mean, you have a great collection of trails now. What are some of the ones that you itching to do, and what are some of them that you'd like to film again?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Most of my channel is trails I'd never done before. So I'd been off-roading for like 8 years before I started the channel, and almost everything on there was my first time.
Nice.
I want to do top of the world. I try to do that by myself in my manual Ranger. And I don't know. I think I got turned around and ended up on the hard way because I couldn't get over this thing. It was like a loading dock. And I definitely want to get out there on that cliff edge of top of the world.
Mm-hmm.
I just filmed Aspen Ridge, which I probably should have filmed in the fall when it's all gold. But probably Red Cone. I've always loved Red Cone. We did it a bunch of times. It's insane. It's very scenic. There's mountains all around it, and it's, you know, obviously unique color, and it's a pretty hard trail. I kind of hate doing easy trails, but it's kind of part of it. And I always say too, like, if you watch this video and you're like, oh, that place looks super lame, we should go somewhere else. And I'm like, well, then the video did its job perfectly.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
That's exactly what this is for.
Right. Well, what, because I want to get into your ride just in a minute, but what are some of the trails that you are definitely overrated out there that, like, you hear, because you live there, so you know, most people that listen to the show, either they're around the world or you know, we have a weird range of I've got people in Iraq to Australia, so some trails are known worldwide, like you can talk about Black Bear or Imogene Pass, and people know those. But what are some of those trails that like those that you're just like, they're so overrated, man? They just, I'm tired of like hearing about these trails.
I don't know.
I know that's a loaded question, man.
Probably the biggest ones, but just because they're so crowded now, like, I don't know if I'm ever gonna do like Hell's Revenge or something. Right. I probably don't want to try Hell's Gate unless I was in something I'm comfortable rolling in.
Right.
Even though I know our cars could make it, I'm always risk versus reward.
Sure.
And this is my daily too. Like, I gotta work on Monday every time, which is part of my setup too. Right. But yeah, I don't know. I just see some videos on these big name trails, and you know, it's a complete traffic jam, and I'm just kind of like, I don't know if I am ever going to do that.
Right. Well, and yeah, Moab's getting bad about that too, man, because I mean, yeah, it's kind of the Disney World of off-road, but it's, you know, of course you have a small window with Moab too, unless you just enjoy frying in the sun or freezing to death in the winter. But like, to me, Moab, the best part of Moab, like I was saying earlier, is the drive to get there. Like, once you take the left off of 40, I forget what the road is that takes you straight in, but it's like all of a sudden you see red rocks and you just feel like you're in Mars, and you know, and you see all the cool mountainside, and then the big peak there, you can see the snow peak from 100 miles away, it feels like. But a lot of Moab to me is sort of overrated with some of that stuff. Like, there are some classic hard trails like Metal Masher and stuff that I really love, but then I've done some just kind of sandy, I don't know, kind of just felt like you were going nowhere ride.
Yeah, and Moab is kind of weird because it seems like you're in the middle of nowhere, but like, town is right there. Mm-hmm. You know, you could walk there if you had to for most of these trails. I mean, fins and things is cool, but we had some guys on the last trip kind of getting sick of it, and that was like my fourth time doing it, and I was kind of feeling the same way, just like, you go up and you go across, then you go down, it's right. A little sand, you know. Right. It's, everyone should do it. It's an iconic Johnny there, but yeah.
See, I mean, that's 7 Mile Rim for me. Like to get out of it, you're just like, well, here's 30 minutes just to get out of this thing. I've done everything. It's just, I don't know. For me, I love the Colorado scenery. Like once I got to do Black Bear and Imogene Pass, like, it reminds me here in Middle Tennessee a little bit because of all the color, but yet you look around and you're like, man, I'm 13,000 feet in the air and you can feel it.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was at Pomeroy Lakes this weekend, which I think is like 12.2, and I messed up this thing and ran back, and then I got to my car and I was like, man, how high am I right now? Like, this is, I'm like way out of breath, and I didn't think it was that high. I thought I was maybe at like 10 or 11, but right. Yeah, you gain elevation so quick. There's so many trails that, 3 switchbacks and you're like 1,500 feet higher.
Mm-hmm.
I do get we do have a lot of just like trails that for miles are just like curbs and, baby heads, we call them,
Mm-hmm.
but just like kind of, it seems like you should be able to go 40, but your car's falling apart unless you're going 5, and it's just kind of
right. Well, that was for like Black Bear. I would never have to do that trail again. Like the beginning of it is awesome, and then going through the switchbacks, I'm just for one, I have like probably a lot of people, I have a lot of control issues. If I'm not driving, especially, like it's just you're looking down as on the passenger side, and you're just like, great, that's a long trip down. But it was just the time I did it, it was kind of just like a gravel road with some switchbacks.
Yeah. And they do a lot of grading here too. Like there's been a bunch of trails that I've gone back to a few years later, and I'm like, what is this? Where's the rut? Like this whole obstacle section is gone. This is just like those meditative sand things to rake. Right. But
I will say, doing imaging was like, even though they're kind of close to each other, like was just night and day difference, man. To get to see the old mines and stuff, and that's part of the fun to me is when you're getting out there and you're just looking at 100 years ago or so, of just stuff that was abandoned. And it doesn't always, to me, have to be the hardest trail, but when there's like some history involved, I love that stuff.
Yeah, I think about it every time. It's just super surreal to just try to imagine what was going on at that time and just the people who live there, like these ghost towns up in the middle of nowhere. I'm just like, how did they get this stuff up here? Like, right. This is crazy. Or they're just like hand making every freaking bolt to like build some massive structure.
Exactly. Well, as we talk about bolts, let's get into your bolts that you ride around in, man. So you were telling me earlier that you have a 2008 Xterra Offroad, right?
Yep, that's the one.
What kind of led you to the Nissan brand?
So it's actually kind of funny. So when I was 22, I guess. Well, first of all, I always loved the Xterra in high school. Like that came out, I think, when I was freshman year, and I was like, dude, that thing is awesome. Like the marketing definitely caught my eye.
Right.
And then this was also the Fast and the Furious era, so I had to have a couple low cars for a while.
Well, you're required to at your age, man. And it was the rules.
But I grew up with an ATV, so I was always interested in stuff like this and wheeling garden tractors and whatever. But my buddy, I guess, Justin from the Baker Garage, who now has that giant Econo line you may have seen from the U-Join off-road kit. But he was taking me out camping. I was like, I got to get into this. And I was looking for a car. My really only requirements were I wanted a real frame. I liked the Cherokee, but I was, heard stories. I was like, I want a real frame and I want a manual. And I don't want it to be too old.
Right.
So it was pretty much 4Runner or Xterra, and I just chose the Xterra. I didn't even get a manual anyway. So it's like,
oh, that's a bummer.
What are you even doing? But yeah, I drove that car with a poor man's lift for 7 years, and I was like addicted. I was getting off work at 6, going home for 2 hours, and then calling my buddy and being like, hey, do you want to run a trail right now? And we'd go run trails till like 2 a.m. and then go to work the next day. It was insane. And the same reason I got the second gen, I just was like, dude, that car was great. I did 90% of the trails here, like in that car, pretty much stock with 32s. And I was just like, I'm sold.
Right.
Got another gear, another 100 horsepower and torque. Can't be bad.
Right, exactly. So what was your first gen that you had? What year was that one?
That was a 01 XE.
Oh, nice.
Black, yeah.
Yeah, it's the square lights, man. I mean, you gotta love the old square lights.
Yeah, and that's why I like the Xterra is the square everything.
Yeah.
I'm so sick of everything looking like a Beetle. I
Right.
love how boss these fenders are. And in the beginning, I hated it too. I was like, "Oh, look at that thing! It's getting all bulbous." And then, 8 years later, I'm like, "Man, that is the sickest car." But by the end of owning my first gen, I was like, "I want a second gen so bad." I was really didn't want torsion bar, and I like the horsepower and stuff, and I was like, I want a second gen so bad. And I just realized like a few months ago, I was like, hey man, you technically have your dream car right now. Like, you're living the dream.
Nice. Well, what's your takeaway from owning both of them now? What are your kind of pluses and minuses that you like of each?
I definitely feel the weight. There is especially my Ranger, I don't know what that weighed, but it was light for sure. I know a couple people have asked me, like, dude, why do you drive so slow? But like, coming off those ledges, that thing put some force down. I could feel the weight for sure. But other than that, like, it's way better. I don't know how much wider is, 2 inches or something?
Yeah, it's not much, but it definitely feels larger.
Yeah, the first gen, I felt like I was in my motorcycle. Like, that thing is just so skinny.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one thing. My wife has a second gen and I have a first gen, and that's the one thing. Like, I love wheeling my first gen. I wish it had a bigger motor, but other than that, it feels on trails, especially tight trails, you just feel like, oh, I can just whiz through here, no problem. And with my wife's, I feel like you're in this big kind of pig. But the problem is, it rides so much better than the first gen, and the power is so much noticeable.
Yeah, and especially getting there. Like, once I'm in 4 low, it didn't really matter in the first gen. But dropping into second, going up I-70, just yeah.
Yeah, it's the one thing that I will say I like better about the first gen though. Do you ever notice, like, under torque, like sometimes that the second gen sort of feels like it's bogging down just a little bit?
Yeah, there is some kind of weird delay or disconnect. It's funny you mentioned that, because I've been trying to I've been really focusing on it the past few weeks. And yeah, I mean, I notice sometimes too, like the brakes will stay on. That's like the anti-rollback stuff. And like, I'll start going and like the brake is on for a sec before it kind of like, gah, and like releases me.
Right.
But I don't know, maybe my torque converter's going bad or something, but there's some weird delay or bog. I definitely know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it doesn't. You would think in four low it would just be like all torque, but sometimes it's like the old Gen 1s could like really hit the RPMs, and this one here is more about just keeping it lower RPMs, and you just don't seem to. I've never gotten stuck in it, but it just sometimes just feels like, man, this engine should have a lot more get up and go right now.
Yeah. It's I don't know, it's weird. It definitely, in 4 low, it almost seemed like the first gen was like peppier, but it might just be because of the weight too, I guess.
Right. So what have you done anything to your second gen now, the one that you're wheeling all the time?
Yeah, so the first thing I do with every car is no steps, mud flaps, or sway bars, which is slightly controversial, but...
So you take your front sway bar off too?
Yeah.
Okay.
They don't handle that great anyway, and I'm trying to save the tires. I'm driving slow up canyons, and I'm a pretty serious driver. Like, I really don't mess around with anything. It's just like drive the car, so I'm not too worried about it. And like in my first gen, I would lean over to the bump stops anyway when I was taking a corner, and then I took the sway bars off and it would go to there and stop, and I was like, this isn't really that different.
Right.
And I took the rear off the first gen because that's what they told me to do.
Yeah.
And then I was actually just trying to diagnose a front end noise. And I was like, let me just take my sway bar off and see if that's it. And I was driving around. I was like, dude, this isn't really that different on road. I wonder if it'd be sweeter off road. And it was way better. So I just kept doing that. And so now on the second gen, I did that as well, and talked to Nistec, and I was like, look, I don't have any money, but I've got a broken leaf in each pack and all my shocks are blown. What's the deal? And they were like, you got to get the Old Man Emu complete 2-inch kit and then you'll be done.
Yeah.
And that's what I did, and it's been great so far. What was messed up? I think had blown a ball joint and most of my control arm bushings. Mm-hmm. So then I ended up getting the SPC upper control arms, and I think that's it. Then I just painted some stuff.
Right. Nice, man. Keep it simple. What size tires are you running?
I had the KM2s in the 255/85, and then I just switched back to the all-terrains in the 285/75.
Okay.
So
what do you like, just the normal all-terrains better than the KM2s or KO2s, or what was the reasoning behind that?
Yeah, so at this point now I've had 2 of each, 2 of KO2s and 2 KM2s, and the only reason I got the mud terrains is because of the size. I love that tall, skinny. I think they look great on these. I loved them on the Camel Trophy. Freaking bicycle tires on those things.
Right.
But the all-terrain, especially out here, like, we don't have any mud at all, and it's just the smarter choice, I think.
Right. Well, the mud terrains look cool, but man, they just wear out so fast too.
Yeah, I did pretty good. I think I got like 35,000, but they're so much louder, and they just, like, the all-terrain, despite having almost no siping, like, I've hit serious black ice on those, and like, it's surprising how well they do in snow and ice. Mm-hmm. I've heard some other bad reports, but that has not been my experience, especially compared to mud terrains.
Right. Oh yeah, mud terrains and ice, forget about it. Yeah, I am a big BF Goodrich guy, man. I do love my pretty much anything I drive truck wise is going to have the KO2s on it. Unfortunately, my SAST Xterra right now is I'm running some Goodyears, but that'll be taken care of one of these days. I got too good of a deal on those tires. But so kind of as we wind this down a little bit, what obviously your goal is to film these trails. What is there any kind of other end game for you on this? Is it just continuing to enjoy it and keep showing your art kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, if I ended up making money somehow, that would be awesome. But I mean, as of now, I'm really just here to help. Like, I usually respond within minutes to anybody, but definitely less than 24 hours. I just think this is exploding out here. There's a lot of, I've seen videos where people post a trail video and maybe it has obstacles from another trail in it, and that's not really clarified. Or like, I've watched videos and a trail looked easy and I went there and there's some insane obstacle that no one mentioned. And so I just think you should know before you go, basically. And like, I was just always trying to find this information out, and I think everyone should watch all the videos available.
Sure.
And read, I'm on several websites, and it's just like any additional information, like that. And it's kind of something I go back and forth on too, like trying to blow up spots or like make stuff insane. And it's really not what I'm trying to do. It's more, if you've already decided to go here, here's what it looks like. Right. It kind of turned into this other thing, but that wasn't really my intention.
Well, sometimes the best things, don't start with when they become something cool. It's not the intent originally, it was just to do one thing and then it turns into something else, man. So, but I do really like, I don't even, like I said, I don't even know how I stumbled into your channel, man, but I've really dug what you do, you know, and I hope any of our listeners, if you haven't, it's B-Roll Offroad. Check him out on YouTube, and you're on Instagram. Any other places?
Not really. Those are the only ones I like. I'm on Reddit a lot, on the Colorado Offroad and Xterra Reddit. But it's just so much. Like, I really thought this would be easy. Like, I was spending too much time on this other channel I had, and I was like, oh, I'll just film off-road videos and be super easy to edit. Like, that'll be it. And now I'm spending twice as much time on this, obviously. So.
Right. Well, if it's what you love, man, you know, you don't want to just kind of throw it kind of half-assed out there, you know. That's the cool thing too, and your videos do show that it's just not some choppy, you know, some fast edit, you know, flying all over the place. Like, some of the best things I've watched of you is just like, it takes a while. You show like how long it really takes to get to the next spot.
Yeah, and I've noticed that especially with my drone clips. Like, I really do like to let them breathe. Just like, you know, there's 7 layers of mountains here. Like, if I show this thing for 3 seconds, you're never going to see it. Mm-hmm. And 10 seconds later, this lake is going to come into view that no one even knew about. And like, I'm trying to take the more like National Geographic approach rather than like the whatever.
Right. And for people though that are watching these, that's the cool thing is it's literally, if you were walking down this trail, this is how you would experience it, kind of how you're filming it.
Yeah. And dude, you nailed it. Like, I wanted it to look like I had 80 cameras that I placed in the forest, and then I drove through it one time. Right. And like, that's why I have like all these weird rules. Like, you know, just my car always has to be moving. It always has to be fully in view. And like, I don't know, it's kind of boring and it's kind of simple, but I also like it a lot. It's like,
right.
I think I watch it more than anybody. I put it on at night all the time, and I'm just like, this is really mellow. My buddy with the Okana line says he falls asleep to it. I don't know if that's a compliment or not.
That's awesome, man. That is awesome. But well, and if somebody wants to get a hold of you, what is the best way to do it? If they have some questions, is it Instagram or?
Definitely YouTube. I check YouTube like 20 times a day, because there's been times where I've asked a question for somebody and I'm leaving in an hour, and like, I want to know this. So I really try to get back to people as quick as possible. So yeah, YouTube would be the jam there.
Well, nice, man. Well, dude, it was nice to have you on the show and finally get to hear a voice to all the cool videos. And maybe we'll check back here in a little while and just see where your next adventure is. Before you go though, is there any further places besides Colorado and Utah that you want to explore?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of friends up in the Pacific Northwest, and I spent a bunch of time there before my off-road started, so I love that area. And it's funny, like, when I had 20 videos or something, my brother kept asking me, what are you going to do when you've done all the trails? And I was like, shut up. And now, like, every weekend, I'm like, is there even anything within 3 hours of me? So I'm going to have to start branching out here soon and figure that out.
Well, those are first world problems, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, dude, it was good talking to you. And once again, B-Roll Offroad, if you are new to him, you've got a lot of subscribers, so I'm pretty sure my listeners have been following you for a long time. I'm probably late to it, but it's B-Roll Offroad on YouTube and Instagram, and go check him out. And till next time, guys, thanks, man.
Dude, this is the coolest thing ever. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Well, there you go, man. As you can tell, he was super pumped to be on the show, and I think he was kind of hyped that, like, for one, that people wanted to talk to him. But that's what we do here in the Nissan Nation podcast. If you're interesting, I'm going to talk to you. We just have conversations. As you guys have listened to us for 96 or 7 episodes now. Clearly, we just talk to people. I'm not going to break down axles or how much flex do you get? What's the percentage? Like, I don't care about that stuff, and I don't think our audience really does. If you're into that, go find these people and pick their brains. But we just wanted to get to know what makes people tick, kind of. And I was super, super pumped to just kind of, you know, for one, feel the excitement of a guy that was like, you know, you never know when you throw content out, like people like it or subscribe to it, but you know, you don't get a lot of feedback from him. So I think he was super pumped that we were giving him like some props, and he's well deserved. So I hope you guys liked that interview. If you know anybody that, you know, does something interesting like this, hit us up, NissanNationPodcast@gmail.com. Or you'll find us on the socials. I'm always looking for just what makes people tick with their Nissan. I just think that everybody at some point does something interesting, especially if you're modding your vehicle, whether it be your car or your truck. There's a reason for it. You're trying to make it yours. And so we really like to connect with the community and just what makes it yours. So anyways, so I hope you enjoyed that. We've, like I said, we've got Windrock coming up, and I feel like I'm beating this dead horse to the ground, but let's see. Let's just go through the event schedule real quick. So the event officially opens Tuesday. So we'll try to get in the Gatekeeper Trail 15 for those that go to Windrock Park on YouTube and then search Trail 15. You'll see kind of what that's about. That's a gnarly trail. It's where the big boys come out and kind of show off a little bit, and there's usually a crowd, and they check that out. And then that night around 6 p.m. we are doing the meet and greet, the Nissan or the Regal Nissan meet and greet, and we have vendors come out. Obviously the podcast will have some shirts and stuff there. I know CVT Tents, who we're itching to talk to, is they're going to be there. Lifestyle Offroad, the Nissan Nation the NPC. Sorry, man, I know too many of these initial brands, but they'll be there, and a few others. Obviously Regal will have something as well. And then we do a big barbecue. Everybody gets to kind of, you know, if there's somebody that you wanted to meet, you kind of, you know, maybe, you know, some people we've talked to, you know, I've talked to certain people on the internet and never met them for over 10 years. And at some point we'll all meet, but these little events like this are kind of fun for that. So then Wednesday, we do the Lifestyle Off-Road Wheeling 101. It's where we just take kind of people who may not have done this before and just kind of give them an outline of what to expect, kind of things to look for, things to listen to for your spotter. And then after that, later that night, we have the Heps Design, Carrie Beasley wine and craft beer tasting. So that's always fun. You know, you always get after your first day of trails, you're kind of hyped. So that's always fun. And then Thursday we do trails, and then we do the night run. So that's always a good time. We try to keep it pretty simple, but you know, everybody has these big LED bars and you want a chance to use them. So it's a great time to do it. Friday you do trails, and then we have the CVT women's run, the ladies run. And that's a ladies only event. Guys can be with them, but there's lady spotters. There's, you know, lady drivers. Like, we're really encouraging that women kick ass too. And, you know, I know off-roading is kind of a male-dominated sport, hobby, whatever you want to call it. But I love when somebody thinks that this isn't for them, and then you get them behind the wheel, and then they're like, take to it, man. My buddy JR's wife, like, just was super nervous the first time she was wheeling with us at Windrock all week. JR was like, man, I just want her to, you know, just try this. And he's, you know, just sometimes husband and wives, it's hard to, you know, like, there's just more pressure, it feels like. So I just told her when JR was spotting somebody up a hill one time, I just said, hey, I need you to move this truck. Just did it plain simple. Hey, I just need you to move the truck. So she hopped in, and next thing you know, I had her climbing like rock ledges. And she was nervous, but at the end, man, she jumped out and was super happy. So it's things like that why we do the ladies run, and I'm glad to CVT to sponsor that. Later that day is the big one, the White Knuckle Off-Road Rock Challenge. This is where the big guys come out, and we've got a nice big rock obstacle, and it's a timed event. It's not a drag race, but it's a skills race, and it's first to get up the hill. And thanks to White Knuckle they've been that sponsor since like 2013. They've donated a lot of prizes to that, and we appreciate that. And then we do some recording later that night after we do the raffle. So and then Saturday's kind of open wheeling and just having fun. So that's kind of what Windrock is about. So if you go to windrock.com, check it out. I'd appreciate it. So that is a podcast, guys. That's a solo podcast, and they're rare, but sometimes you just got to do. Sometimes you just got to kind of just throw it out there and do it yourself. When your buddies are busy playing on their their own hobbies, sometimes you just got to go. So once again, if you haven't yet, like and subscribe to the Truck Life podcast. It's our new thing where it's just trucks and SUVs, all brands. So we, like I said, it should have launched October 1st. Fingers crossed. We've got our first interview there was with Chris Hefty, and that's going to be super fun. It was a fun interview, pretty long interview if I remember too. And we've got all kinds of racers and stuff coming up on the show. So we're going to dump a couple so you get a kind of feel for that show and a couple at once, and we'll go from there. So anyways, from all things Nissan here in Middle Tennessee to wherever you enjoy this show, my hat's off to you people for continuing to listen to us for almost 5 years. This is your Nissan Nation podcast, and we're out. Peace, everybody. Love y'all.